Hello everybody!
Hello everybody!
If you're here, you're probably on a mission to speak English more fluently.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And today I'm giving you 10 powerful practical tips that you can use to become much more fluent when you speak in English. You'll become more confident, more natural, and more fluent when you speak in English, whether you have an intermediate or an advanced level. So let's dive in with my 10 practical tips to improve your English fluency. The first tip is to think in English. Why? Well, translating from your native language does slow you down. When you think in English, your brain directly connects with the language. There's no middleman. And on top of that, there are many words and phrases that just can't be translated directly. So I know it's much easier said than done, but your number one objective should be to start thinking in English. You see, language learners who practice this direct thinking improve their verbal fluency much faster. So how should you do it? My advice is to start small. Think about your daily routine in English. Describe what you're doing as you do it. When you're brushing your teeth, tell yourself, I'm brushing my teeth. If you're making yourself lunch or dinner or a coffee, just go over that vocabulary whilst you're doing it, thinking in English. It might feel weird at first, but trust me, this is fluency training at its best. And on that note, have you ever dreamt in English? If you have, then this is a huge clue and sign that you're on the right track. So keep it up. Tip number 2 is to shadow native speakers. What do you mean, shadow? Shadowing is a brilliant and trendy technique in language learning where you try to copy exactly how somebody else speaks. You repeat after a native speaker as closely as possible to how they spoke. And why is it useful? Well, it helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and speech speed. And it's not only used by language learners. This is a technique that many actors use when they're trying to work on accent training to sound American if they're British or vice versa. But how can you actually put it into practice? You can use YouTube videos, podcasts, series, films, short videos, you name it. So my advice is that when you're watching one of these videos or one of my short videos, you can listen to the first phrase, pause, and then try to repeat after me. That's the easy version, at least, because when I'm speaking, usually I'm speaking quite slowly and clearly. If you want more of a challenge, the next step is listening or watching to authentic content. By that, I mean watching series or films and pausing it and trying to copy and imitate how the actor spoke. Choose your favorite actor or actress and try to sound just like them. You'll sound awkward at first, and that's great, it's part of the fun. But just know that in the long term, you're stretching and training your speaking muscles. An extra tip is that the website or application that I use to download clips of films and series is called Play Phrase Me. If you see a new phrase or a new word or phrasal verb that you like and you don't really know how it's pronounced, you can type it in on this app and listen to it over and over again. Speaking about phrases and not just words, tip number 3 is to use spaced repetition with phrases, and not just words. As I was speaking about in my last video about connected speech, how different words and phrases combine to change the pronunciation, it's important to learn new phrases and not just memorize new words over and over again like people used to do with vocabulary lists. Words on their own are useless if you don't have the context. And that makes it much more memorable as well, because learning in chunks improves the speed and memory recall. Phrases like, by the way, at the end of the day, or make up your mind, come out more fluently because they're stored as a unit. So if you do like having vocabulary lists, at least make sure it's with phrases and not just words. But how else can we practice? I recommend using free apps such as Quizlet or Anki app. A big tip here is little and often. So it's advisable not to cram all of these new words and phrases at the same time, but review them and learn them little and often with spaced repetition using apps such as Anki and Quizlet. At the beginning, you'll review these words very often, and then as you start to memorize them, you'll see them once in a blue moon. Let me know in the comments if you already use spaced repetition or apps like Anki or Quizlet. Tip number 4. It is to speak out loud every day, or at least as often as possible. Sounds obvious, right? But most learners don't actually speak English out loud daily. Maybe they feel lazy about it, or they just don't get round to it. You know, we're all busy, and the last thing we want is to be walking along the street speaking to ourselves out loud. This is actually something I used to do in Spanish, and people would look at me like I'm crazy. But now I speak good Spanish. So don't worry about it, and maybe you can pretend that you're speaking to someone on the phone when in reality, you're only speaking to yourself. But you are training your muscles to speak more fluently, and at the same time, you're realizing which words and phrases you keep forgetting, and then you know that you should review them, of course. As with any skill, the more you do it, the better you will become. If you want to be a great guitarist, you need to practice. If you want to be fantastic at playing darts, well, the more you practice, the better you're gonna get. Learning a language and improving your English fluency is no different. So aside from speaking to yourself when you're walking around, what else could you do? One good option is, well, to record yourself, like your own vlog, to read articles and read them out loud, and maybe chat to AI to discuss what you have read in the article. You can have a phone call with different friends who speak English. Or maybe the easiest option, which really works, is sending voice notes on WhatsApp, because the best of all is that you can listen to it again to see where you were going wrong and how you can improve. The more you speak, the smoother it gets, and it doesn't matter if nobody else is listening. Tip number 5. Set fluency-focused speaking goals. What do I mean by this? Don't just study, but set yourself challenges. Challenge yourself to use AI to have a chat every single day. Challenge yourself to call your English-speaking friends. Challenge yourself to read out loud every single day. Setting these micro goals will help to build momentum and get you into the routine and into the habit of doing these things every single day. And it gives you a clear target to walk towards, which will help to keep you motivated and on track. Other activities you could try are describe a photo for 1 minute every day. Write a diary or record yourself going over what you did at the end of the day. And that way you'll remember some words and phrases and also practice your speaking at the same time. And you can use ChatGPT, Gemini, or your favorite AI app just to have someone to speak to. Track your progress weekly and reward yourself every time you manage to tick off all of these objectives. Treat yourself to, I don't know, a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake, right? Tip number 6 is to use the 3, 2, 1 technique. What on earth is that? Well, it's a fluency booster and practical activity that you can try, and it's used by language learners and coaches. It helps you speak faster and more clearly under time pressure. Let me explain how it works. Choose a topic or a conversation question at random, put on a timer, start it, and speak about this topic or answer this question in 3 minutes. Even if you're not sure what to say, just, make it up as you go along. It's all right if you're rambling. Then repeat more or less the same information in just 2 minutes. So perhaps you need to speak faster and also maybe paraphrase and summarize things in a slightly different way. Then you need to do the same in just 1 minute. So focus on speaking faster each time. You'll be amazed how quickly you'll improve your delivery and also be able to sound more confident and more fluent and get your ideas across in a limited amount of time. The 3, 2, 1 technique. Tip number 7 is to limit passive learning. You see, listening to podcasts, reading, or watching Netflix, it's useful, it's fun, and you should definitely do it as part of your language learning routine, but it's not the be-all and end-all. At least that's not the case if what you want to improve is your speaking fluency. Because if you don't speak, you won't improve your speaking. Podcasts, Netflix, it feels productive. But as I said, passive learning doesn't lead to fluency. Studies show that active learning, speaking, writing, or testing yourself, leads to deeper memory and better fluency. But that doesn't mean you have to stop watching programs, YouTube, or listening to podcasts. You could try shadowing whilst you're doing it. Maybe you could write a summary of what you've watched. Or at the very least, when you're watching something or listening to something, take notes of new words and phrases or interesting pronunciation, whatever you feel like, and then at the end of it, you can review these words, create your own sentences, speak and pronounce them as well as possible, and that way it can be a combination of passive learning and active learning. The key is to consume less and produce more. That way, you'll become much more fluent. Tip number 8 is, well, to join conversation classes. If not, language exchanges. Because you can't become fluent if you're in a bubble of just speaking to yourself or AI. You do need real interactions. Of course, how you do it exactly is up to you, because the options are almost endless. You can look for an English teacher and have one-to-one classes with them. If you want classes with me, I'll leave a link in the video description. Or you can join conversation groups. Again, there are companies and other teachers that offer this, but if you'd like to join my community, the British English Immersion Club, then you have a link in the description as well. Any questions? Don't hesitate to ask. For me, it's all about having fun, speaking, testing your knowledge, and connecting with other people who have similar goals, so then they are able to keep you accountable and keep you motivated so that you can discuss different topics, negotiate, debate, using English and having your errors corrected, your pronunciation tweaked, and at the same time you're having fun, which means it becomes much more memorable. And above all, if you're speaking to people from all over the world, then you're going to be exposed to so many different accents, and that means that it's going to be easier for you to understand anyone from all over the world the next time you have a business English meeting, or you just meet people when you're out and about. So on that note, I hope to see you in class soon. Fingers crossed. Anyway, on to tip number 9. It is to use functional language for everyday situations. Think survival English. What vocabulary and phrases do you actually need for ordering food, booking a hotel, making small talk at work, playing paddle or football? If you know you need vocabulary and useful phrases for these scenarios, then look it up, start to use them in these conversations, and if you're not sure and you're speaking to someone else, just ask, Don't be shy, don't be timid, go for it. And real life scenarios, again, build automatic responses. They bring you out of your shell and your comfort zone, and it allows you to have these moments that are very memorable, so then you know these words and phrases off by heart and you stop being embarrassed. You start to allow English to become a part of your life. It goes without saying that this is much easier to do if you're based in an English-speaking country, because you have no choice but to do these things and to live your life in English. But if this is not an option for you, then again, conversation classes and using AI to practice these scenarios is the next best option, because you are able to immerse yourself in English without actually leaving your country. Of course, it's harder, but it's doable. You can do it! Tip number 10, last but not least, and arguably the most important one. It is to be okay with making mistakes. Perfectionism kills fluency. Speak first, express yourself, and correct it later. Learners who focus on communication over accuracy speak more and therefore improve faster. Trust me, Professor Stephen Krashen's hypothesis really backs this up. So what you've got to do is use mistakes as learning tools. Write them down or make a mental note and correct them later. If you've always made the same mistakes over and over again and nobody's been correcting you for them, then you may have fossilized errors. So we need to correct these and review them as quickly as possible so that you get out of this bad habit and hopefully you'll start correcting yourself. It is important to practice with people who don't judge you. And you want to have a laugh when you make mistakes. If you make a silly mistake, then it should be fun and it should be very memorable so this mistake doesn't happen again. If we think about babies and young children, they're constantly making mistakes and they're learning during this process. So bear that in mind the next time you're nervous about speaking in English, because if anybody does judge you, they're not worth your time. You should be brave, be bold, speak as confidently as you can, and then if you make some mistakes, it's completely natural and you will improve after making these mistakes. So like I said earlier, you can do it. I believe in you. You've got this in the bag. So there we have it, my 10 powerful tips to improve your English fluency as quickly as possible. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments how many of these practical tips you are putting into practice at the moment. Thanks again for watching, I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!